Hello again. Standing out in the rain here again, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that's come across my plate, shall I say. Not just recently, I've actually come across this concept a few times. It's called channeling. Channeling. It's a concept, I'm sure you're aware, where suppose individual I, get visited by extraterrestrial, supernatural, paranormal, whatever entity, who then I say, okay, you can use my body for a while to communicate, not as in the angel Gabriel, of course, but as in you can speak through use my physiology to be able to speak. You see this in the examples of this are Abraham Hicks entering Esther Hicks, Ramtha, JZ Knight, Rasha, the Oneness Project, I'm not sure what the lady's name actually is, Saint Germain, who goes into all sorts of people, and the most memorable one probably is the I Am Discourses. Now, these books, I think they are some of them very great literature and some very, very important and astounding insights into them. But I wanted to talk about them a little bit today just because, as you know by now probably, I'm big on free will and trying to promote the power of us as individuals in what we do have, right? And to me, to say that these are separate entities, separate from us, is a little bit deterministic. In other words, if I just allow a paranormal or a supernatural entity to possess me and then be able to talk about what's going to happen and how things are going to be, that's a little bit deterministic, or it is deterministic in a way, rather than the free will. If I realize that it's a part of me in a way, then I can see my part in it more, if you will, if that makes any sense. So, what's really going on? Now, once again, one man's opinion, as I see it, as is helpful for this conversation, sharing ideas on improving the quality of our life experience, right? Because anytime we can get to know ourselves a bit more, anytime we can, by getting to know ourselves more, be able to be a bit more empowered to govern our free will, to help ourselves to improve the quality of our life experience and the quality of other people as well, by extension, right? Now, I would say that, just to give a couple of things, I would say the first one is something I'm going to talk about, the bicameral mind. This is more of a theory, I suppose, but it's based on something of how human beings have kind of like two separate sides to the brain, or perhaps I'm not sure if it's two sides to the brain or an upper and lower part, say the conscious and subconscious, whatever, two aspects anyways. I'm not sure, I could be wrong on this, but in times gone by, it was a little bit hard for people to distinguish one from the other. So that now we more or less have developed to the potential anyways of being able to interface these two aspects of mind. But in times gone by, way back thousands of years ago, and in fact, up till much more recently, in more tribal nations, and in fact, even today, in people who are considered to have mental disabilities of some sort. I'm not exactly sure of the types of mental disabilities, but these people are considered to be, there's something wrong with them, whereas it was the norm, more or less, way back when, where people would do things like go to an oracle, wishing well, or something like that, and they would talk to the gods, and the gods would talk back to them, but they would actually see a god. They might see a god standing in front of them, and it's just like it's a dream. It's like a dream state, but they're actually alive. And where the same way in a dream, when we're asleep, we're not conscious, but we're subconscious. We're asleep, and what goes on can seem very real. In the same way, when somebody is functioning, high-level functioning in a bicameral state, they can actually see something like it's real. And that's why we don't understand certain people who are considered mentally disabled, or they got a mind that's so freaky to us we don't understand them, because they can be seeing stuff that we're not seeing. It's actually real to them. It's their imagination. And the thing is, they're not able to separate the imagination from the real, or to be able to connect them. We do the same all the time. I mean, you and I can stand here right now and think about mermaids, or or genies, or something like that. We can actually see it, but we don't have the experience that it's real, because we're also at the same time conscious of everything else. So there's a connection. There's the distinction and the connection at the same time. So my feeling is that one of the things that can happen possibly in the channeling experience by people who do channel is that what they're having is a good old-fashioned bicameral experience. They're having an experience that, the kids at Lourdes who saw the Virgin Mary, and they could tell you that was the Virgin Mary right there. It's like, and the people who went to the oracle and they saw the God talking to them, and the people who have, what are called mental problems or whatever, who have a little friend standing beside them, they tell you it's there, but they're not able to see it as not real, or as imagined. So the one who has the channeled experience, because of course this whole bicameral experience is the same as an experience that we would have now. It's something like in a dream. People can have a wet dream. It can be so real that there's a physiological effect. It's the same as when you're walking across the beach here, you can feel the stones on your feet. Well, if you have a bicameral or a channeled experience, you actually feel it, because there's no distinction between the dream and what's real. So I would say that might be what's happening in one case. And then of course, the information that comes through the channel, is along the lines of what the individual already knows. I mean, it's no mistake that the Virgin Mary never appears to a bunch of Islamic guys in the middle of Afghanistan. Never will happen. Never will happen. Because it's not part of their awakened state. They can only dream about, dreams are only related to experiences. And, nobody in their current state of mind, in what we would call an everyday common, go to work, come home, watch football, sort of everyday commonality mindset today, nobody in that mind is going to go to a wishing well and talk to a God and actually see that God. It's not going to happen, right? And if they do, we label them crazy, because it's not what is the norm today, right? So why would the channel have something profound to say? Well, it's profound to those who are listening, but they don't realize that the people who are used as the channel, they're already on that mindset. If the channel is the Virgin Mary, well, they're already Christians, or they're already devout Christians and so on. They already say the rosary 10 times a day. So therefore, whatever they're going to say, whatever's ever going to come out of them is coming from like a subconscious state of stuff they've already learned. So I don't think it's, in that case, this is an explanation how it's not an extra paranormal, supernatural being. It's actually something coming from within. It's just it's a bicameral experience, I think. The second thing that I think could be going on here is a contrived personality, and this could be the case especially in shams and so on, but not necessarily. I mean, people make up contrived things for various different reasons, but I think along the lines of Borat. When Borat, Sacha Cohen, when he became Borat, he stayed in Borat for like about a year. And when he was in Borat, he was a very different person. Borat was a different person than Sacha Cohen. Same body, different person. Different dawning of a different person. Different personality, talk differently, different mannerisms, the whole works. I think this is important too, because very often in our common personality, what we're used to, we have inhibitions, hang-ups, and these sorts of things because of our upbringing, because of our programming. People see us in a certain way, therefore there's sort of an unwritten or a subconscious expectation to behave a certain way. Whereas if we were to somehow be in a different personality, all of a sudden we can be different. I remember talking one time to a musician who's otherwise a very shy guy. In fact, he was in Toastmasters with us. And I'm pretty sure it was him. I can't remember exactly, but it was maybe somebody else. But he was a musician. He'd go on stage all the time, and I asked him if he was nervous on stage. And he said no, but it's because he was doing something different. He was a different personality on the stage. He was a musician on the stage. Whereas everywhere else he was, computer programming guy or dad or just a regular guy in the society. Whereas on stage he was a musician and everything completely disappeared. So no more inhibitions as anything else. So this could be partly it too. And when we don't have inhibitions, then what actually comes out is a truer sense of ourselves. We become more what we innately are. We can express ourselves more genuinely without any holdbacks. So this could explain too how when somebody, you can see it, if you see Esther Hicks gearing up to become Abraham Hicks or JZ Knight to become Ramtha, they go through this thing. They have a process they go through, and when they come out, they have a different accent, they have a different way of presenting themselves and so on. It looks like an act, and it is an act actually. Physiologically, it's an act going on. They don't have to be. JZ Knight is no longer. She's now Ramtha. Esther Hicks is no longer. She's now Abraham. So she doesn't have to behave like her anymore, and therefore can be purely herself. It's like she's operating behind a closed door, and she can bare herself completely for what she is. She can take off her proverbial clothes, if you will, and be more herself. And therefore it appears to be wisdom coming out, because when we are ourselves, we can, all of a sudden things start to flow in the subconscious. Our memory works better, the whole works better, the speaking works better. We're more natural. It flows. Flow can happen because there isn't that inhibition. Now, I would say, what is the importance of this in terms of an overall discussion on improving the quality of our life experience? Well, I would say that if we realize that people do have channeled experiences for whatever it is, and through that channel experience, if it is true that out of that comes profound insight, this sort of thing, and if it is so that what's happening is accessing a deeper sense of self, or a deeper greater memory access, all of this, like greater access to the human self, if you will, or even whatever you want to define that as. Then, if for nothing else, we can realize that this is possible, and realizing this is possible, I would say, is important, because, well, once again, it's a learning experience of self, learning what self, the depth of self that it can be, and the potential also that we can actually perform on another level, which can be quite profound compared to what we're used to. I would ask the question, though, in getting to know self more and more, is it really important? Is it necessary to don this extra personality? Or can we just become genuine with ourselves and with others, and in time we actually become like channels of what we are more truly. And what we are more truly, if we think about it, is connected to everything, and able to continue to absorb more and more insight, and to be more honest, to be more in touch with this reality that we are connected to everything, I think we can do that. I think we can. I think there's, at least there's no evidence to me otherwise, that we can be basically channels, if you will, as ourselves, though. And just live a more wholesome, honest, connected, loving life. Just as ourselves. We don't have to don other contrived or dream state personalities. Surely we can, little by little, do this. But perhaps I'm wrong. If you have any comments on this or some insight on this, please let me know. I think it's important, like I say, once again, I'll just refresh. I think it's important because if it is true that we can get in greater touch with ourselves and realize the capacity that we have to be able to connect with visions and also extra personalities and come up with amazing insights, then wow, when we connect that, as in the bicameral minds actually coming together as a more whole self, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and these sorts of things, then we don't have to go into these states. And when we realize that is true, or that can be true, then wow, we made a big step forward, because we can be more free will oriented. We can be more, this is what I want. And it's no longer a dream that it's some kind of a godlike character entering us. It's ourselves talking. Then we can consciously make the steps towards it, rather than having to pray for it alone. Hope this was helpful. Once again, Steve, I'll sign off for now. A few raindrops, standing down by the river. It's a beautiful, mild, mid-January day. Bit of ice on the river, but there's actually water on top of it now because it's melting a little bit. It's above zero. Foggy, or not foggy, but just overcast every day. There was actually a little mosquito just flying by. Darn. Go figure. Looked like a mosquito anyway. It was an insect. I'm saying I don't know what kind of an insect, but anyway. I just saw something up the river here too. A whole bunch of ducks. If I turn the camera, you won't see them. There's a whole raft of ducks sitting in an open patch of a melted stretch of the river there. Anyway, nice chatting again. Talk to you soon.